What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to GA Fan TV. This is the instant match reaction. Sligo have beaten New York 2-16 to 6 points in Markievicz Park, and they booked themselves into the Connacht Senior Football Championship final for the first time since 2015. The game was obviously live on GA Go. Watch the game, of course, obviously being played in Markievicz Park, New York, making the trip over to Sligo. And yeah, look, no fairy tale this time, no shock this time, no surprise result this game. Very much going, I would say, according to plan, but probably actually a lot more convincing for Sligo than what people would have imagined. I think a lot of people would have anticipated that New York would have put up a bit of a better showing here, in all honesty, and put up a bit more of a fight than they did. But look, you can't criticize New York too much. There's a lack of games, there's a lack of sharpness playing in Markievicz Park. Although, some of those players would have played in Markievicz Park before, the likes of Adrian Varley, and I'm sure a few of the others have at different stages when they would have played championship football in Ireland. But it was just different for them. It was a completely different, ball game. And, playing in tough conditions as well. The weather maybe not the best. I know in commentary they were saying that New York, these players wouldn't be used to that type of weather. In fairness, the weather in New York gets pretty bad, if not worse at times. But to be fair, they wouldn't be used to playing in, in Gaelic football pitches in those type of conditions, at least not any time recently since they've been playing football in New York. So, and yeah, look, in fairness, you have to give a lot of credit to Sligo. Like they really did come out flying out of the traps. That early goal from Patrick O'Connor, as soon as that goal went in, and even from watching the opening 10-15 minutes, you just felt like this game was done. You felt like this game was over. There was just no way back for New York. It just felt like Sligo were far too comfortable in the way that they were playing. They were pressing high up the pitch. They were turning the ball over. They showed no mercy. They showed no complacency, no switching off. They really treated New York with a lot of respect, and they prepared and planned for this game as if it was a Division 4 level final or something of that nature. Even played better in this game than they did in the Division 4 final, in fairness. And you have to give them credit for that. Like, they really went out. They went for New York's throat. There was no messing around. There was times in the game where they probably missed a few chances here and there and everything else, but it was very, very comprehensive, and you have to give them a lot of credit. Patrick O'Connor with 2 goals and a point, very good performance from him. He obviously gets both of New York's goals. Noel Murphy with a very impressive performance as well, 5 points from him. And Pat Spillane Jr., what a performance again, and he's definitely becoming a bit of a figurehead for this Sligo side. Sort of playing almost like reminds me a bit of like a Kieran Kilkenny type player, where he's getting a few scores himself, but he's mostly setting things up, dropping back into midfield, being the spare man in midfield and setting things up around them as well. He was very good. Sean Caraboyne again, 3 points from him. Cian Lally and Paul Kilcoyne in around midfield had a good performance. And Paul McNamara, actually, in fairness, in at centre-back, had a very decent game as well, set up a couple of chances, as well as getting a point of his own. And Luke Towie at wing-back looks a very impressive player. I've heard his name before, definitely playing at Sigerson Cup level, so definitely an impressive player nonetheless. So, yeah, look, there was no mercy shown here from Sligo, as I said before. And for New York, Adrian Vardy scored 2 points. Gavin O'Brien, actually, I thought, had a very good game, and he scored New York's final point of the game, and that was an absolute outstanding point from about 30 yards or so. So yeah, look, it wasn't, it was disappointing from a New York perspective that they didn't put up more of a fight or more of a battle. But again, it's just a different level. It is just a different level completely. And I think Sligo are definitely onto something. They're definitely onto something. Like, I think that Connacht final, it might actually be closer than what people think, in my opinion, against either Roscommon or Galway. Like, I think they have a lot of very good footballers, as I said, in Patrick O'Connor, Sean Caraboyne, Pat Spillane Jr. And there's a real good feel-good factor around Sligo at the minute. I mean, back-to-back under-20 Connacht titles, as we've seen there during the week on Wednesday night when they beat Galway in the final. They're building something. They're building something. It might be too soon to really sort of go and actually take that extra step and win a provincial title. I think it's too early for that. But I think they are building something. And although a lot of people would look at this performance and say, well, Sligo are supposed to beat New York, and we won't give them the credit. But the way they prepared for this game and the way they swept New York aside, I thought was very impressive. They just didn't give New York a chance in this game to get going. And physically, in terms of conditioning wise, and in terms of Sligo's structure of how they were playing football, it looked night and day between the two sides. And I think for New York, when you're playing on that 4G pitch in New York, you're having the opposition make the journey over. The fans as well, obviously getting really, really involved. It's a significant advantage as opposed to playing here in Ireland, which is this time they're making the journey over, coming to playing on a different pitch with different levels of support, obviously as well. So, very, very difficult indeed from a New York perspective. But look, fair play to Sligo. They've done what they needed to do. They get themselves into a first Connacht final since 2015, and yeah, look, what an opportunity for Sligo. Just seeing there, Nottingham Forest have scored. Oh, God's sake. But anyway, well, we'll discuss that another day. Sligo 2-16, New York 6 points. Great result there for Sligo. And yeah, they booked themselves into a first Connacht final since 2015. Brilliant result. New York, disappointment from them, but certainly a big learning curve. And going into the Tailteann Cup now as well, it'll be another game in Ireland. I think it's great exposure for New York football, and you certainly can't fault them for today's result. Although it looks pretty bad, I think we should more look towards giving the credit to Sligo, and bear in mind that New York, it's their second championship game, second competitive game, inter-county game that they've played all season long. So yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Cheers to anyone who tuned in. Let me know your opinions, your comments on the game down below. We'll be doing a reaction after Kerry versus Tipperary, which is underway right now. And of course, we also have Galway versus Wexford to look at in the Hurling Championship. So yeah, cheers to anyone who tuned in, and we'll speak soon.